Hello, everybody, and welcome to today's webinar on modern-day card payment solutions with Basis Processing. My name is Amanda Goyette. I'm an admin assistant with AERA, and I will be helping moderate today's event with my colleague, Rob Monroe.
Hey, everyone. Yeah, Rob Monroe here. I look after membership and technical development at AERA, and I want to welcome you to today's webinar. Engine Professional Magazine, for sure you would have received your third quarter in the mail already. It's been out there for a little bit, and if you want to read the publication digitally, you can simply go to engineprofessional.com, and you can go right to our website to get that as well. You can also read any archived issues. So any issues of Engine Professional Magazine or an article that you're looking for, there's a great search feature on our website for this, and you can search a particular article or look up a particular topic that you wanted to look at, and you can find it in our magazine and read those articles. And Chris Miller is from Basis, and Basis is one of our AERA corporate partners. This is a great program. I know our members highly recommend this program. They've been very happy with the amount of discounts that they receive through credit card processing. I mean, let's be honest, a lot of folks now, this is how they're paying. So, it's great that you can save as much money as possible by in your credit card processing. So enough out of me. Like I say, any questions for Chris, put them in the questions box and we'll get them over to him. So Chris, how you doing today?
I am doing great. I am making sure that everyone can see me here, and I'm working off of a few screens. So if I look like I'm not looking, I'm paying attention to what I'm showing you. But excited to chat a little bit. We definitely value the partnership with the AERA, and me and one of my colleagues were actually out at Blueprint here in the early summer, late spring time frame, and enjoyed that show and getting to meet some of you and do all that. But yeah, the relationship with AERA is going on 10 years now, and we currently process for over 60 different members currently. So it is a long-standing relationship that we're excited about. I know that each and every one of you are as excited as I am about credit card processing. Nothing you'd rather talk about today, but we'll keep it lively, we'll make it light, and we'll let you get back to have plenty of time to grab some lunch. There we go. That looks like it should be good. Well, maybe not, but it's at least bigger. So I'm not a huge fan of closed captioning personally when I'm watching webinars and television, but we'll do our best today. So done a lot of this, but not on GoToMeeting. So we're all learning here. But talk a little bit about the partnership with AERA. I did put together an agenda today to make best use of our time together. The agenda today, it's kind of loose, but I did want to talk about what makes Basis different, why the different members, the 60 plus members inside of AERA process with Basis, why the association themselves process with us, and why they wanted Basis to be the credit card processor of partnership. The industry obviously is one of the main topics of today's conversation as well. And that has it's changed a lot with different softwares and different equipment types, and honestly, in a lot of ways, smoke and mirrors. From there, talking a little bit about PCI compliance and other solutions, and then ultimately pricing. My goal today is to keep things pretty high level. We are open to answer any questions at the end, and if there are more specific questions and conversations that would like to be had following today's webinar, we're happy to calendar some time to have another conversation. So with that being said, we'll go ahead and dive in and talk about what makes Basis different. So like a lot of the AERA members that we work with and that are members of the association in general, Basis is family owned. We have been family owned since 2002. That is the year that we were founded. And we operate quite a bit different, not just than other processors, but than most other companies here in the US, especially in the Midwest. And what I mean by that is here at Basis, we have no phone trees. We have no offshore help. There's no press 795 to get to Chris for your support for your account. It is all direct lines, all directly answered by a real human being every single time. The way that our support staff is evaluated and graded is how quickly they answer the phone and if they actually solve your problem on that first phone call. What that's yielded and what that's led to is a client retention rate year over year of over 90%. And here's what's really cool to me, and is what has really allowed me to feel good about where I work and look at Basis as a long-term solution and career for myself. It is the client retention, and it is the fact that the average lifespan of a business that processes credit cards with Basis is over 9 years. Okay. All of this points back to the fact that we do take very, very good care of our clients. We are family owned. I think that sometimes that can be heard of as small, and that's not the case. Our goal is not to be the biggest credit card processor in the country. It's to be the best, and I do believe that we are. We are the largest family owned processor, and we currently process for over 18,000 merchants all throughout the United States. So with that, dropping down a little bit here when it comes to pricing for us, if we were to engage in a conversation and talk more about pricing and what we could do for you, it would be a line by line, down to the penny analysis that would show you, if you ran the exact same transactions with Basis that you are currently running with your processor, what you would pay down to the penny if you ran those exact same transactions. For us, like I mentioned, we do have a very large base. We had the number of 40 plus pulled here last year, and I actually just did a check before I hopped on today, and we're actually over 60 now, which is great, and we're very excited about that. So transitioning over into merchant services today and keeping this this show moving, what you see in the world today of really business in general, but for sure and specifically in credit card processing, it's dominated by large companies. Some of you may be familiar with companies like First Data or TSYS, or some of these companies that are really, really large, and oftentimes they make us feel really, really small as business owners that work with them, especially the businesses that we take pride in working with. Now, when you look at this, some of the stories that I've heard is, having trouble even getting statements, having trouble being able to actually talk to a person. One of the things that makes my job the easiest is also one of the things that makes it the hardest. And that is the fact that a lot of the competition that we go up against, they do operate with smoke and mirrors. They have poor net promoter scores, which basically what that is a client satisfaction. And ultimately, there's no relationship. It's, I can't see any of you, but I would assume that there's probably some head shaking and some affirmation to those statements, because why that makes it challenging is it can be difficult to be able to allow people to have their walls done enough to see and actually take the time to see that we're a lot different than these other processors. But what does make my job very easy is when we're actually able to have these conversations and talk about what's important to you, which is your business and saving on the bottom line. For us, we actually have a dedicated relationship management team that works with all of our clients. That's what they do all day. They are all here in Lenexa, Kansas, in the Kansas City Metro, and it's been pretty cool. It's been a very good. I was looking today, and there's dozens of AERA members that have been with us for right at that 10-year mark when we started processing for AERA, right at about 9 years. So definitely a different approach to the industry, and it's one of the things that really separates us in a lot of ways. Now, furthering that separation from other folks in the industry, it's a term called PCI compliance. What PCI compliance stands for is payment card industry. So no matter what volume of credit cards you're taking, whether you're taking $10,000 a month or $1 million a month in credit card volume, we work with folks on both ends of the spectrum there. You have to complete every single year what is called a PCI compliance survey. Now, what this is for, it's to make sure that you're staying on the up and up and staying in the green with the card brands. So Visa, MasterCard, American Express, Discover. What this is it is typically seems like you're speaking a foreign language when you're trying to fill these out. A lot of times these are sent out by third parties via email. They can be easily missed. Now, if you are PCI non-compliant with your current processor, odds are you're getting a pretty hefty fee that you're having to pay on a monthly basis. We've seen those anywhere from $100 to $250 on a monthly basis. One of the biggest things with this is there's actually a lot more exposure than just these fees from your processor. If you just do a simple Google search and you look up what are the penalties for being PCI non-compliant, you can actually incur fees and fines of $5,000 up to upwards of six figures for being PCI non-compliant today, for good reason, right? You're handling other people's money. It is the financial industry. It is transactions. For us here at Basis, we do this a little bit differently. We make sure that we actually handle your PCI compliance for you. So, for example, one of the guys on our team, Brandon, what Brandon will do is he will make a phone call to the folks there at your company and make sure that you are PCI compliant. It is what is called an annual assessment, and we walk through that with you. We make sure that the questions that may not make sense to you in the automotive world, because it's specific on credit card processing, is simple. Those phone calls take about 3 to 5 minutes. We make sure you're compliant, and then we're on our way. Now, when it comes to PCI compliance, one last thing that I'll put in and I'll touch into is one of the things that you see here is it's more important now than ever. And the reason why that is the way that credit cards are being processed today has changed a lot. There's a lot of different softwares. There are, there's tap to pay. There's all these different terminals and these mobile processing solutions where there's moving pieces. There are other things that are in a lot of ways out of you as the business owner's control as to if you're processing through a software, through an ERP, or through an ordering system such as Shopify. There's different things and different components that, to be honest, unless you have someone in-house dedicated to credit card processing, there's no way that you would be able to know all the ins and outs of. For us, we make sure that you stay compliant, and we've got folks that is their full-time job that they do 40 hours a week. So, talked a little bit about the different solutions and the different ways to process. There's a lot of different things that go into how you process, what drives the needs of your business. And I'll go through a few of these. These are pretty simple, pretty basic, but I do think that it's a good point of reference and a good thing to note that we support all of these options. Virtual terminal would be keyed-in transactions where someone is typically taking a payment over the phone, punching in those credit cards manually. They're in the office or in the shop. POS stands for point of sale. This is when you've got a lot of folks that are coming into the shop, or you have different perhaps applications that you need with your credit card processing. For example, if you had an inventory solution that you wanted to plug in and for it to pull out of your inventory once a sale was entered into that point of sale system. These last two are probably a little bit more frequent now more than ever, and that is the software integrations. You see different things. I mentioned Shopify earlier. There's literally dozens. We've got a team here dedicated to going out and courting new software companies and building relationships so that we have more integrations built. We currently work with dozens and dozens and dozens of softwares that we can seamlessly integrate with, to where your process does not change any on a day-to-day. The only thing that changes is your rates and who funds your bank account. Okay, and lastly, terminals. There are hundreds of different terminals in the marketplace today. Terminals that are mobile, terminals that are wireless. They're inside of a shop, inside of a building. The point of sale systems can be classified as a type of terminal, all the way to the things that you plug into your phone. Right? We can support all of these different ways to process. We're very, very flexible when it comes to this. And there, like I said, there's a lot of different options when it comes to how we're going to process payments. Now, when it comes to pricing, there's a couple key factors that drive what the cost is. So just like for all the AERA members, if you are doing work on a vehicle or anything of the sort, any of the components inside of, you've got a hard cost when it comes to your labor, when it comes to your parts. Obviously, you've got a hard cost as a business owner for keeping the lights on and things of that nature. For us as a credit card processing company, we also have hard costs that are passed along to us from the card brands, being Visa, MasterCard, American Express, and Discover. The two main variables that dictate these hard costs that get passed on to us and ultimately passed on to you as a business owner is they're both driven by risk. Okay. And when I say risk, I mean, how is the card accepted? So if you are processing cards in person and someone physically brings the card in, they tap or they swipe or insert the chip, that is the lowest risk form of payment to take because the card is physically there. The card brands know that the likelihood of fraud is significantly lower and the likelihood of a chargeback is significantly lower. The second driving factor is the type of card that's being accepted. So most of you, I would assume, probably have some sort of a rewards card in your wallet right now as we speak, whether that's a frequent flyer miles card or a cashback card or a gas card, whatever that may be. Now, for us, with our consumer hat on, we see those cards as being very advantageous. We've got the ability to earn points. We can use that for vacations or free money, makes our life easier. Now, although the card brands have been, that's a great perk for us as a consumer, they don't just do that out of the goodness of their heart. Obviously, it's driven by revenue and driven by profit. And those cards that you accept as a business owner, whether those be business to business purchasing rewards cards or private purchasing cards, rewards cards, those rewards that the consumer gets, that your customers get, come out of your pocket based on the fees and the rates that are sent over as a hard cost from the card brands. So if you've got a 2% cashback card that you're accepting, that's going to be far more expensive than a credit card without rewards or a debit card. Now, with this being said, there is no way for you to know what these cards are at the point of keying them in or swiping them. The way for us to dictate this is by taking a look at a statement that you're getting from your current processor and really giving you a better picture of what things look like. We do see quite a bit of B2B transactions in the AERA. And what we really specialize in is business to business card not present. That's where we're able to come in and identify the most savings most of the time. And that's because of the sheer size of business to business card not present clients we have. Like I mentioned, we are far from the largest processor, but we are the 14th largest when it comes to business card not present transactions. Now, the solution that you use does matter. If you have people that are coming in person to your shop, to your office, then you're going to want to physically swipe those cards. You're going to be able to get better rates. That way, that's why your solution does matter. Ultimately, what we recommend, how you hold either Basis or your current processor accountable, is by getting your actual effective rate. One of the biggest smoke and mirror tactics that you see in the industry is when people hear I talk to people 5 days a week, 6 days a week about credit card processing, and the number one thing that I hear most often is, I think I've got great rates. My bank or my processor said that I'm at 0.5%, or I've got a flat 2% rate, or I've got X, Y, and Z. Now, 9 times out of 10, this is not the case. Typically, it's even higher than maybe 95 times out of 100. And the reason why is, if I was to go, for example, go back to Blueprint Engines, where the show was at here, the event here in the spring, early summer, and said, hey, I need an engine, but I want to pay you less than you paid for it. That probably would not go over very well. The same thing holds true in credit card processing. The hard costs for all credit cards is going to be around 2%. Debit cards can be a little bit lower than that, but if you hear you are getting a rate of 0.05 or a 1.5% fixed rate that's a guarantee, I would highly recommend you run the other direction. Typically, what we see is very aggressive and very competitive pricing is around 2 to 2.3, 2.5%. if you are just knocking it out of the park. But based on the cards that you take, it could be significantly higher. So I encourage you to do that, to actually calculate your effective rate, because there's been many times where we've gotten statements and people thought they were getting a 1.5 or a 2.2, and they were getting a 3.2 or a 4.2. And this could mean tens of thousands or even hundreds of thousands of dollars a year based on your processing volumes. The simple way to do this is take your total fees. So if your total fees that you pay your processor are $2,500 a month, divide that by your total volume, and that will get you your effective rate. That is the number one way to hold your processor accountable, whether that's basis processing or whether that's ABC credit card processing down the street. Because at the end of the day, you may have a rate, but there's typically a lot of other hidden fees there with folks that are a little bit less transparent. So I know that I got a little bit off into the weeds there talking about rates, talking about pricing, but hopefully I kept this fairly palatable for everyone. And that is what I wanted to share today, was the fact that we would love to have more conversations with you here at Basis. But at the end of the day, our main goal was to come on here and help educate some of the basics for AERA members, and talk about the relationship that we have with the Automotive Engine Rebuilders Association, and be available for any questions that you may have. So I'll go ahead and pass it back over to Rob, and allow him to navigate things if there are any questions that have come through. Rob, take it away.
Super. Thanks, Chris. No, great job. You covered a lot of the questions. You know, we on our tech line and our information line, we take questions about your program, and it's nice to know that we've got a contact and a relationship that we can have with you, that we can pass them along and get those looked after. So, no, you answered a lot of those questions that we get. So, thank you very much, Chris. We appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, a couple questions have come in actually. They've asked, we think that we get good rates, but how can you save money? You know, they're trying to save money on processing. Is there a way to save money on processing?
Absolutely. And there are one-off situations, but the short answer is absolutely there are. At the end of the day, there's always a markup on everything that you do in the world. We do live in a for-profit capitalistic society, but unfortunately, many of the processors out there, they do have some of these fees that they slip in. The way that we're able to show this is very simply by getting a copy of a recent statement and giving a no obligation analysis, where we give a side-by-side comparison and we talk about what this looks like. For us, as I mentioned on one of the first slides, our goal is to work with you for a very long time, and that's how we're going to make our money. We tend to try to operate off of lower margins and longer relationships. But where that comes in is the fees that are passed along from the card brands to the processing companies. But absolutely, I'll tell you this, Rob. I do 3 to 4 typically analyses on a weekly basis. And I'll tell you, the last time that I didn't see savings it does happen, but it probably happens about every couple of months. And we're honest, if we can't beat the rates, if we can't beat the pricing, we're going to give you some reassurance. But like I said, 9 times out of 10, we're going to, and it's going to be pretty significant.
Okay, super. Another question for you, Chris. They've asked, I currently process through a software and I have to continue to do this. Can you integrate with softwares?
Yeah, another good question. So we currently have over 50 softwares that we have an exclusive relationship with, that we are the processor for. With these different softwares that we work with, it is turnkey. Now, outside of these 50, we actually have a portfolio of other softwares that we do have the ability to work with based on what is available on their end. Now, when I say this, what this means is there are, I would say that outside of a handful of proprietary softwares that own a credit card processor, the answer would be yes, we would be able to do so. I'm actually working on 2 different integrations currently for 2 different businesses. Oftentimes, it's a lot easier than people would think. because you gotta realize that these are things that people are doing on a day-to-day basis. And to kind of put a bow on that, Rob, is at the end of the day, when you look at these different softwares and you look at the different processors, the way that it works most of the time is you have your software that interacts with either the business or the consumer, and then the processor is on the back end. Okay, what all this does when you change a processor with a software is you change what you're plugging into the wall, so to speak, on the back end. On the day to day, the week to week, nothing changes as far as any reconciliation processes, as far as a workflow process for your team. What changes is the rates, and what changes is the amount of money that you can save on your processing. But yeah, we absolutely can. Another great question.
Super. Well, Chris, what we'll do is we'll just to respect everybody's time. I know everybody's busy. Any questions that come in for Chris, what we'll do is we'll get those over to him and get those answered. And Chris, we really appreciate your time today. You've answered a lot of questions for us. And if anybody wants to get a hold of Chris, like I say, we've got his contact information, as well as you saw the slide there previous to this one where his contact information was there. So Chris, we'll let you get on with your day. Thank you very much again. And what I'll do is I'll go back to Amanda to wind things up.
Thank you very much. Y'all have a great day. Appreciate the time.
Thanks, Chris.
All right, we'll keep this quick, you guys. First off, there are many more YouTube videos out there of our webinars. If you go out to YouTube and you search for AERA Engine Builders or Engine Builders Association, you can find our channel. And we do have a business playlist that has other videos that could benefit your business, as well as a technical webinar playlist full of a bunch of great technical information from previous webinars. So make sure you check that out and hit the subscribe button so you don't miss any of our future content. Lastly, when you leave today, there will be a survey that pops up. Take a moment, fill that out, let us know how we're doing. We appreciate your guys' feedback. There's a spot in there to ask questions of both Chris and the staff at AERA. Or if there's something in the future you'd like to see, you can put that in there too. And we're always looking for ideas of what new content we can bring to you guys. And then as you'll see, you can reach the AERA team at 815-526-7600. Or you can email either myself or Rob. Both of our email addresses are listed there, and we are happy to answer any questions you have or pass you along to whoever will know the answer. So once again, thank you everybody for taking time out of your busy day. We truly appreciate it, and we hope you have a great rest of your week.